I expected this movie to be good. However, I did not expect it to be one of the best things I've watched in a long time. You know that feeling when you start something thinking it will just be solid, right? Maybe entertaining, maybe well animated, and then halfway through, you realize it's doing something way bigger than you anticipated. Cosmic Princess Kaguya, released on January 22nd, 2026, is officially labeled as action, comedy, drama, fantasy, music, and sci-fi. But romance is not listed anywhere? Like, excuse me? What surprised me most about this movie wasn't just the story, it was how deliberate the emotional pacing feels. This movie gives you multiple moments where it could realistically end. Each time you're ready to accept an ending, whether happy or sad, it does a complete 180 and just keeps going, bro. Like, I honestly feel emotionally manipulated. So, Cosmic Princess Kaguya is a modern reimagining of the tale of the bamboo cutter, which is one of Japan's oldest folktales. At its simplest, it's about a bamboo cutter who finds a tiny princess named Kaguya inside a glowing bamboo stalk and raises her as his daughter. As she grows into a woman of otherworldly beauty, she attracts many powerful suitors whom she rebuffs with impossible tasks. Eventually, Kaguya reveals that she's from the moon, and despite her love for her earthly family, she's taken back to the Moon Kingdom, leaving everyone behind in sorrow. Yeah, it's not the happiest of stories. The movie follows Iroha, a high school student who appears perfect on paper. She has strong grades, athletic ability, musical talent, and even gaming skills. In reality, however, she lives alone in a rundown apartment. She pays for her own tuition and living expenses. She works constantly, sleeps very little, and the one thing she truly looks forward to is watching a VTuber named Yachio. And one night, after coming home late from work, completely exhausted, Iroha sees a glowing bamboo shoot growing out of an electric pole, and inside it is a baby? She assumes she's hallucinating, which is fair reaction, but the baby is real. So she decides to take the child in and tries to handle the situation responsibly. But by the next day, the baby has grown into a toddler. And the growth continues rapidly over the next few days until the girl reaches Iroha's age. Why? I don't know. And the two begin living together, Iroha balancing school and work, while Kaguya adjusts to everyday life. Most of their early dynamic is Kaguya being curious and playful, while Iroha tries to maintain control over her already overwhelming schedule. Alongside this, the film introduces a fully immersive virtual world, Tsukuyomi. It's similar to something like Ready Player One, except instead of bulky headsets, users wear contact lenses. People meet, play games, perform, and build alternate identities into space. However, it does not stop here. The movie keeps layering ideas on top of that. VTuber culture, live streaming, idol aesthetics, there are competitive games that resemble modern MOBAs, rhythm games inspired by VR titles, and MMO-style social hubs. Then it just expands even further into cyberpunk imagery, robotics, extraterrestrial elements, time skips, and even time manipulation. If you didn't catch on yet, it becomes incredibly dense. And somehow, it works. So as I said before, this movie is not officially labeled a romance, but it has to be one of the most profoundly romantic pieces of media I have ever seen. Again, it's a story about two people colliding in the most unexpected way possible, and the way they positively impact each other is just incredible. Let's start with Kaguya. She arrives on Earth completely burnt out from her duties on the moon. She escapes to find a life that is actually exciting, fun, and free. And watching her experience Earth is like a breath of fresh air. She reacts to everything with zero filter. If something is thrilling, she's over the top excited. If Iroha's pancakes taste terrible, she says it. She doesn't downplay her feelings or act indifferent. She is always true to herself. Or is she? One of the most important things this movie does is how it slows down to spotlight the little everyday things we overlook. Being around someone like Kaguya who genuinely enjoys life makes you realize how much of your own excitement is suppressed. You grow up, you take on responsibilities, and suddenly you're just trying to survive. And that brings us to Iroha. For her, life is nothing but a grind. Her entire world is a web of obligations. She is exhausting herself trying to balance her studies, work part-time jobs to financially support herself, and still find the time to support her Oshi. She is micromanaging every single second of her existence. She is just surviving while being heavily burdened by a complicated relationship with her mother. Anyway, as time passes and they live together, Kaguya learns about the original tale of the bamboo cutter. She hates the sad ending and decides right then that she wants a happy one she writes for herself. And she wants to pull a miserable Iroha into that happiness. But at that point, Iroha isn't even aiming for a happy ending. She just wants a normal one. She's looking for stability and to get by without things falling apart. The longer they're together, the more you can see how Kaguya changes Iroha's mindset and the way she looks at her own life. Before this, Iroha was wearing a mask. She tried to hide how much she was struggling physically and mentally, and honestly, Kaguya says it best. The more time she spent on Earth, the more she noticed how free people were. They could do whatever they wanted. Yet despite that freedom, they were still holding themselves back. They weren't being true to themselves because of things that seemed more important. And that's exactly what Iroha was doing. When the reality sets in, Kaguya is the real Princess Kaguya. I know, crazy plot twist. She realizes that her fate might mirror the tragic folktale after all. And instead of collapsing under the weight of it, she learned a few things from Iroha. Kaguya puts on her own mask. She realizes that if she can't control how the story ends, she can control how she spends the time she has left. Even when it's clear that she is hurting, she continues to smile. She chooses to make memories and protect Iroha from feeling even worse. When Kaguya is inevitably forced to return to the moon, all of that joy is stripped away, and it leaves a huge wound in Iroha. Because now, just surviving is not really acceptable anymore. Again, at the beginning of the film, Iroha would have settled for a stable, numb existence. But through Kaguya, she learns that wanting something more is not unrealistic. It's necessary. A good life isn't one where nothing goes wrong, it's one where you actually live. So when Kaguya is gone, it feels like the color drains from Iroha's routine. Everything goes back to feeling empty. But now she knows what it's like to truly live, to enjoy every single second of every day. So she can't slip back into that numbness. Now let's talk about Yachio and her role in this whole thing. At Iroha's lowest point, Yachio was the one who saved her. Through her song Remember, her streams, and her virtual world Tsukuyomi, she provided a place for the exhausted Iroha to relax and escape. Yachio gave Iroha the strength to keep going, and she gave her the will to continue and to fight, because even if you can't write your story the way you want it to be, it's okay, as long as you keep moving forward. And one thing you should know is that Yachio is the version of Kaguya 8,000 years in the future who has given up. She wasn't able to have the happy ending she wanted with Iroha, so the only thing she could do was save her to keep Iroha from completely giving up. And that's where the role reversal comes in. Yachio saved Iroha, but Kaguya healed Iroha. Kaguya gave Iroha the courage to open her heart again, to repair her relationship with her mother and her brother. In that sense, Iroha actually got the happy ending she wanted. She was able to fix her life and her family. But that ending came without Kaguya by her side. Originally, Kaguya's goal was to bring Iroha into a shared happy ending. But that was impossible in the past because Kaguya had to return to the moon, and now in the present, she exists as Yachio, a version of Kaguya that has already given up on that dream. However, Iroha refuses to let things end there. She decides to carry Kaguya's wish forward. She resolves to fulfill their shared desire for a happy ending. At first, it was technically Kaguya's wish, but we know it's something they both wanted, to spend more time together and share their lives. So now, instead of Kaguya trying to save Iroha and create that future, it's Iroha who takes on the responsibility of making their shared happy ending a reality. For me, what makes an anime special isn't just production value or hype moments, even though there was plenty of that here. The most important thing is timing. It's when you watch something and it reaches you exactly when you need it. Just like Iroha found Kaguya at the right time, I also found this movie. Okay, that was corny as fuck, I'm sorry. I had not watched anything for a while, which is also why I didn't upload much. It wasn't because there was nothing good to watch. I just didn't have the energy. Like, I felt creatively and emotionally depleted. And the day I watched this movie was like especially rough. You know, those days like when they feel heavier than they should. When you start thinking too much, your self-esteem drops and your thoughts just spiral. So I thought, you know what, like it's Friday night, so I just put on a random anime without expecting much. And I definitely did not expect this movie to land exactly the way I needed to. Like, this movie explores a lot of ideas and themes, right? But one stood out to me the most. It's the idea that it's okay to not care about everything all the time, to slow down, waste time, and just have fun. And in this context, that doesn't feel irresponsible. It feels like relief, like the moment someone finally lets go of constant pressure, even if only for a while. Watching this movie, like, I cried way more than I thought I would. Like, every time they pulled those like switch ups and endings, like it hit harder every single time, bro. And that's exactly why this movie feels special to me. It's not perfect at all, right? There are plenty of things I could nitpick and criticize. But I mean, I've watched a lot of anime, and even the ones that are really good, I often finish it feeling a bit unsatisfied. But this time, I didn't. It was very good.